I'm Sheen, and I will be your host for today. So today we are exploring inside of the Margaret Laurence house, and Rain is here to give us a tour and show us around the house.
Okay.
Welcome.
Turn some lights on for you. It is 1890.
So I heard that this is where Margaret Laurence was raised in.
Yes, actually she was born in Ipoh, and she moved into this house when she was 4 years old. She lived, it was actually her grandfather's house. So she lived with her grandfather when she was raised in Ipoh. So this is the actual house that she lived in, and now we sort of filled it with photographs and memorabilia of Margaret Laurence and a few other things from the era.
That is so cool.
All right, I'm gonna go grab the actual tour for you so I can give you more information than I have in my head.
All right. So this is Margaret Lawrence's grandpa, and this is her grandma. Whoa. The sword to the left. Whoa. Whoa. It says it's for ceremonial purposes. So
Yes.
I doubt he would be going around and.
He wasn't going around stabbing people. No.
Yeah.
As far as we know. No slandering John Simpson.
No.
And this was we have several pieces of art in the house made by different artists of Margaret and of course of the Stone Angel as well.
Stone Angel?
So the Stone Angel is actually the title of what is arguably Margaret's most famous work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set in a town she called Manawaka. And you've probably seen Manawaka around town. It's the name of various things. It's her fictional town, but it's based on Ipoh.
Oh.
So there are several things she wrote about in her books with different names that are based on Ipoh. One of these is the Stone Angel. And if you've been out to the cemetery,
Yeah.
And you drive in, on the right-hand side, there's a big monument with it's actually a shepherdess on top. That is the Stone Angel.
Whoa.
And that's what she used to inspire.
I think I might have seen that.
Yeah. And there's several, you'll know, it's right here. Like that's the one there. And that's in the cemetery in Ipoh.
That is cool. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, and that is actually original to the house. And it's interesting that it actually been removed at one point.
Really?
All that scroll work up there was removed at one point. And when the Margaret Laurence Home Committee bought this house and started, renovating it and converting it, they were contacted by someone who said, "I think I have something for you." And these were in his barn. I think it was his barn. His barn or his garage. And there's a few repairs on them, but largely they are the original to the house. And it's amazing because they're so fragile, you'd think they'd all be broken, and they have been preserved. So a lot of that is of the era when she lived in here. So this actually isn't Depression glass, but there's some Depression glass in other areas. And then along here, those are some of her favorite books, Margaret Lawrence's favorite books that inspired her as a writer. And these are some first editions of some of her works. So this here, you maybe noticed the cornucopia as a symbol of Ipoh. And there was an event in her honor, and that was the centerpiece for the event. That there is an original painting that was used as the cover art.
Aww, that's so
For the book.
cool.
Yeah.
And this is a letter?
Yes. Yeah.
And it was signed by Margaret Laurence.
Yeah. Here it says, "I honestly believe that the only way for a writer to get started is to submit work to magazines and to keep on writing."
Wow.
Yeah. This here was the art from a postage stamp that was issued for her.
Teapot. This teapot was used during her time at a cottage in Hampshire, England.
She lived in actually several places all over the world.
Whoa.
She started here, but she also lived in Africa. She lived in England, and then she, at the end of her life, she lived in Ontario. That collection of books in here was actually donated to us by her daughter, by her son when her daughter Jocelyn passed away.
Yeah.
These are all original signed copies of all of Margaret's books that she gave to signed to her daughter, and her daughter and son donated them here after she passed away.
That is so cool.
So that's why they're in a little case there. But that's, so everyone, first edition of every one of her books is in there. Yeah. And this is, I had to look, I didn't know this off the top of my head, so I had to look this bit up. But this is, this was from another house that Margaret had lived in on 2nd Avenue in Nipawin. It was the Weems, like her maiden name was Weems. It's from the Weems home, her paternal grandparents on 2nd Avenue. The house is gone now, but they saved the stained glass windows, so we have it here.
That is so pretty.
I know, I love it. There's some more stained glass upstairs too.
Did they make it themselves or did they buy it?
It would have been, they purchased it, but it would have been handcrafted by somebody. Like it wouldn't have been mass produced, you can tell when you look at it.
Newton Edmiston.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He was one of the people who built the house.
That is cool.
And there's a piece of wood there that's one of the original baseboards. And you can actually, if you see right here, you can actually find it in pencil.
Oh.
So that's, when he built the house, it was sort of hidden.
There's writing.
It
That's
says,
so
it
cool.
says, Newton Edmiston put this casing on November 22nd, 1895.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Whoa. Is that the Stone Angel again?
Yes. Yeah, that's an artist's drawing of the Stone Angel.
Guys, look at that stained glass. That looks so nice.
This is like the research area and the boardroom. So this was actually originally 2 rooms, and there's a hallway that came through here. But it's been opened up since then to be 1 room. So we actually keep a research area, and this is all articles on Margaret Laurence and stuff about her writing. This is the high school yearbook from 1945. That picture at the end there is one of Margaret's favorite pictures of herself. It was painted by a friend of hers, Helen McLean, in 1984. And that's her at her home in Lakefield, Ontario, at her kitchen table, which is where she did all of her writing. These maps here, we had to have 2 of them because that one filled up, are where our visitors have come from. This is the current one, so anyone who comes is welcome to stick a pin in
Whoa.
where they're from.
I'm from Nipawin.
There's lots of pins in Nipawin. You can stick a pin in Nipawin.
Alright.
A lot of the things in this case are Margaret's work in translation. So it works in several languages across here. These are ones I think are in German. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like Czech maybe. So this is really the memorabilia that belongs to her.
Are those her graduating things?
She has many honorary degrees from several universities. And so all the robes are in here. And they're actually listed there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And that was her typewriter there. The one that's on the desk there.
How would you use a typewriter?
Alright, so if you wanted to use this typewriter, you have to manually put your paper in. So the paper goes in here and you have to turn it so it comes up. And you can't backspace, you can't erase anything. Well, there's correction ribbon in some, but not this one. And you just type, and when you get to the end of the line, you actually have to return it to the beginning manually.
Oh.
So it won't wrap around. So it's all manual. But the keyboard's in the same spaces as it would be on a computer now, so
Oh.
yeah.
That is.
And you can set your margins in the back there, and so yeah. And all the keys are inside, so when you press the button, the key comes up and hits on, there's like an ink ribbon here.
Yeah.
And so the key comes up, hits the ink ribbon, and it puts it on the page. This is her face. This is what's called a life mask. This was made of her. Yes, not a death mask, this is a life mask. Made of her when she was alive.
Oh.
This is actually so visually impaired people would know what she looked like. So this is actually meant to be touched. And then a lot of the items on here belong to Margaret and her family as well. Like those are her glasses. You saw them in some of the portraits and pictures and things like that. And pictures of her and her brother.
Aww. I think there was one that looked like that
In her
in the
room.
homework room.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, look, typewriter things.
Yep.
Are these like for church?
Some of them were. She wrote see it there on the wall. It's called a prayer for Passover, Easter, Hanukkah, and Christmas. She really believed in people working together and not separating the religions.
That's good.
So this was actually from her memorial service, which was a memorial service held in Nicoa.
Oh.
So that would be January 10th, 1987.
A memorial service is when, like, there's a funeral.
It's like a funeral, but it's not like she wasn't here. She died in Ontario, but we held a service for her here because there's so many people in Nicoa who, especially in the 80s, who had gone to school with her and who knew her. So they wanted to have a service here to remember her as well. So that's the program from that service.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So the house was purchased in 1986. So it actually was purchased before Margaret passed away, very shortly before, by a group of people who wanted to restore it as a tribute to Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
And she did, because she was alive at the time, she did give it her blessing to do this.
Oh.
And she died in January 87, so very shortly afterwards. And she actually is buried here in Nicoa, in the Nicoa Cemetery.
Yeah.
The house has gone through some changes since it opened. It actually, our arts board, formerly Viscount Cultural Council, used to be downstairs, and that used to be the art gallery. The National Holiday Festival of the Arts, which hasn't been around for a few years now, used to have their office here as well. There used to be pottery classes in the basement. One of the things Margaret really wanted with this house was not just to have it be a museum with stuff in it, but to have actual arts activities still happening.
Oh.
So that's why we still bring writers and residents to come here and have author readings. That's why we have literary trivia nights. Why we bring artists in. We're having a big art project this summer. And that was it was something that Margaret wanted for this house.
Oh, this is another photo of Margaret?
Yes.
Cool. When I grow up, I hope to have as many degrees as her.
If I could be half as accomplished as Margaret Laurence, I would have lived an excellent life. So that is the house. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for showing us around the Margaret Laurence house. And I hope everyone learned something cool and interesting. Thank you. Goodbye.